Hello, Courtney here from Inner Wellness. We're going to just talk about grief. I'll share a little bits of my story. And as always, if you relate or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You know, growing up, I didn't really know grief. I didn't know the word really. Of course, I didn't embody it. I didn't experience an emotional loss. Looking back now that I know what grief is, I held a lot in my highly sensitive body as a child, just not getting the parenting support that I needed, etc. But the word grief, I didn't use that in my vocabulary, and not aware that it was an emotional process until 2019. In 2019, my sister lost her kiddo, and it took me down. The empathetic grief, we live across the country, is 4 kiddos. I have 4 kiddos, and the empathetic grief for her took me down. I remember lying in bed a lot. I remember just crying, going, I can't ever imagine it. I can't ever imagine it. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to survive. And I went to visit her and watching her sob and wail. But truly, like the mother who lost her son, I remember she was on her floor on her knees, and I had no words because there are no words. And my hand was on her back, just and my eyes were closed, and I was just trying to like send her my heart, send her a percent of some sort of healing in that moment, which I don't even know what that looks like, right? Well, that was in August of 2019. And little did I know, like, was that preparing me for what happened to my family? I don't know. I certainly like to overthink, but I don't need to overthink on that one. But April 2020, I lost my oldest, Sam. He was 20. And tragically, of course, but what loss of a child isn't tragic? And it was COVID, so we were all home together, lots of time together. As I look back, and I'm so thankful for there was the 6 of us at home. And yeah, we woke up one morning and he was unresponsive, and it was my turn to be on my knees, and that became a very familiar position, a very, I think it's it's very much a sympathetic nervous response. And the wailing that I heard my sister, I heard it from myself for I don't know how long. And there it and started our family's new reality. At the time, we had Sam, who was 20, and then a daughter, Carter Jane, at 18, and my daughter Sydney, who was 15, and then I had a little guy, Jackson, who was 12. And like I said, therein lies our grief story. And it's been a little over 4.5 years, and it's been a lot. Not knowing grief, it was overwhelming. It still is, but it was really overwhelming. My husband and I we've homeschooled our kids. We've, taught some parenting classes, and this is not to say that like, we know everything about raising children, but we were confident in some ways. And now, how in the world were we going to get ourselves through this? I didn't think, the world was meant for me to be here anymore. And then to walk our 3 kiddos through this. And, I don't know about you, and if you have kiddos walking through this, you'll understand, like, every kid, right? Everybody's so different. I'm watching one of them, my oldest, Carter, at that time, her anxiety through the roof. And she was kind of, for a very long time, still a little bit to this day, but, on high alert, on everybody's radar, kind of running off of everybody's Wi-Fi, especially mine. So her safety kind of almost depended upon, if I was emotionally safe, or if I was wailing, then, or having an emotional breakdown, grief, then it was, she kind of took it on. And so that balance between, for me, that balance between allowing her in to my processes and my grief, and then also keeping some boundary to protect her a little bit, if that makes sense. And then middle Sydney, she was 16. Everybody was super tight with Sam in their own way, and Sydney they had a really sweet emotional connection, and her response for a bit after his passing was anger. So we're talking like holes in the walls. We're talking, a lot of outs, and I've never really been super comfortable with anger. And the way I leaned into it was staying with her throughout an angry expression. So, for example, like being in her room and she's really expressing her rage. I remember one time sitting on the floor. I'm not afraid of this, kiddo. Your feelings, your emotions, I can hold them. And I can remember many times saying that and really trying to embody it. And in some ways, I could. There's no way I could have left her at the time, right, in her own discomfort and emotional unsafety. And then there's also a part of me that's, panicking inside. Like, is this how is it's gonna always be now? Our new reality. I'm not sure I can do it. And knowing that I have to. We've got my family. The littlest at the time, like I said, he was 12, and his Jackson, his absolute sadness and confusion tore my heart out every day. Every night he was in our bedroom, sleeping. We had set up a, a a bed for him in our bedroom. And one night, oh, I remember him just crying and crying, not sleeping. He just had said, I don't get it, because everything was perfect before this, which of course it wasn't. But to a 12-year-old with 3 siblings that just kind of adored him, and then in some ways just babied him and made sure his life was filled with love and laughter. To him, everything was perfect, and now it's unsafe and uncertain, and so devastating for him. So that was our experience, super early grief. And again, it's, 4.5 years later, and man, we've been through it. And you can hear from my breathing that I woke up a little dysregulated, which is not terribly unusual for me. I have to work really hard every day to try to regulate my system, my nervous system, through my breath, through meditation, and through other things. That I just wanted to point out that you can hear my erratic breath, because that's how my day started. And we've been, my husband, I didn't even, he had a really tricky time expressing and emoting. Felt maybe his role was to keep the train going a little bit, like take care of the ugly logistics that I wasn't interested. I didn't even know what was happening behind the scenes. And then, further on, having to go to work and keep the family going. And I'm going to get into in another video a lot more about my husband's name is Chris, and Chris and I's journey together in this grief process. Complicated, and it's been complicated, and so I'll get into that, and hopefully some of you relate and share your stories. I have a program. I'm not selling it here or anything, but the reason I bring it up because it's called Grief and Grace, and there's a reason for that. We've had to give ourselves and each other grace beyond I ever thought that we would all be capable for. And, in some days, I'm like, should it be grief, grace, and growth? We've had a lot of growth, of our own inner wellness, and from unwellness to a lot of growth together, personally, and like where we are in this planet, and what the planet, like what our model of the world, and etc. So, in further videos, and I'm gonna, go into more detail, and you can always comment on what you want to hear more of. In some ways, I'm an open book. Yet, in some ways, some of my healing in the last 4 years or forever really is to allow my heart to open, and allow people in. So maybe this is safer. It's a little less scary maybe if it was in person. So ask anything, and I'm here to support in any way. We continue to be on this journey. Like I said, I woke up feeling a lot of tightness. Had a couple hours a week last night, which is not terribly unusual. And we continue in ways of course, we're heading into the holidays. So, what does it look like to honor Sam and honor everybody here? And we decided last night to make some ornaments like they were children, like they were, as we were putting up ornaments on our tree and recently and admiring all the, all the little ones you do with littles. And two things came forward for us is that one, the littlest, the youngest of four, had very few ornaments, which if you have multiple children, you might understand how the youngest maybe gets less of some things at that time. And then the second thing we noticed was, let's bring this back. Let's put up some new homemade ornaments in their own way and honoring whomever and whatever, maybe their time of life or their grief, whatever it is. So that's when we will honor Sam and everybody here throughout the holidays and some other ways that we can share about. And then we've also grown in ways asking for help and being a little bit more honest about where everybody is and people being okay with it. And it's not, I would go, I remember I still don't go to a panic, really. I'm familiar with panic people. Okay. I'll just say that. But if I felt somebody like really in their trauma, it gripped me. I felt like I needed to really turn it around or really like fix it or solve it. And we've grown. Because that's a little bit more about it would be more about my discomfort. So nowadays, I think everybody here does a fairly good job. We certainly try to really, it's okay to allow somebody to express their whatever it is, from their grief and trauma, and that it might stir up some discomfort in us to see a child suffering or your sibling suffering, and that's okay. We breathe right through the discomfort, and we end up doing things like I did to my sister in 2019. We put our hand on them, on their foot, as they're lying down, on their back, or anything that they find comforting, and we just sit with them, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I might close my eyes with them, and I might, again, try to send some sort of loving, supportive energy. And that's why sometimes it's why in 2019, yeah, it's just a weird thing to think about of was the world prepping us in some way? So that's where I'll stop today. Again, reach out. And again, assuming you're here from grief, my heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to you, and for you to understand. I would love for you to understand. And as you can see, right, with my dysregulation, I will be after this video. I go to my own couch, and I've bought my big headphones, and I'll do my work for the day. And I wish you any sense of support, love, peace, calm, and big hugs. Big hugs. Feel free to let me know anything about your loved one or whatever it is that is currently going on for you. All right.